One way to create a site model for your project is by sketching in contour lines, and I'll show you this workflow. Start in the top viewport and sketch in a rectangle representing the size of your site model. Then sketch in the contour lines using the line tool. I'll use the smooth vertex type. Each contour represents a certain elevation, and the closer these lines are together, the steeper the resulting slope. You could import the contour lines from AutoCAD if you got this data from a civil engineer, for example. But I'm just going to sketch them in randomly here just to demonstrate how this is done. As it stands, these contour lines are separate spline objects. We need to attach them all together. Go to the Modify panel and click Attach Multiple and select All. Then go to the spline level where you have access to the Trim tool. Trim off all of the portions of the splines that overlap the rectangle. This will clean up the surface that you'll be building. Then delete the rectangle. Now if these contour lines represent different elevations, then you need to move them up to different heights in the Z direction. Let's say that this contour line represents the lowest level. I'll move the next one up to a height of 1 foot in Z. I'll move the next one up to 2 feet, and I'll increment that for each contour line. Go to the top level and take a look in perspective. This is what you'll have. I'll rename this object Terrain. On the Create panel, use the Geometry category and choose Compound Objects. Click the Terrain button and the spline has become an operand of this compound object. Scroll down and you can change the form from graded surface to graded solid or to layered solid. The layered solid is reminiscent of a chipboard model. I'll go to the Modify panel where I can expand the object and get at the operands themselves. I'll select the operand, which in this case is a single line object. Then I can go to its spline subobject level and select a particular contour line. Notice that we have a shading problem on the bottom. I'll hold down Shift and copy this contour line down to create a base for the model. You can adjust that just by going to the vertex level, and you can select any one of the vertices in the model and move it to a new location. Now as it stands, this is a very chunky model because I didn't click very many vertices when I was sketching in the contour lines. I'd like to make that more complex, so I'll go to the segment level, select all by pressing Ctrl A, and then divide those segments into, let's say, 5 pieces. That smooths the contours out, as you can see. Now I'll go back up to the top level and change this to graded solid. And the surface is starting to look a lot better. You can display the terrain, the contours, or both. I think I'll opt for both. Now if you have a great deal of complexity in your object, you can simplify it by using fewer points. In this model, simplifying it maybe by using half the number of points looks okay, but a quarter number of points starts to pull the surface in too far. If you want to add points, you can interpolate points, and that multiplies the number of points times 2 or times 4. I think it looks pretty good with no simplification, or maybe half the number of points. That actually just changes the smoothing and the shading a little bit on the surface. If we use vertical simplification, that's going to be unacceptable because we really don't have very many contour lines. This might be appropriate if you had a lot of contour lines that you had imported from AutoCAD. Now if you want, you can use color by elevation to generate different colors based on the contour lines. Just click on Create Defaults and you'll see a color scheme applied to your surface. I'll undo that, and notice that it will not undo the color scheme, so be careful with that. Once you click this, you're stuck by using zones by base elevation. Now, of course, I could assign a material to the object and that would override these colors, and I'll just do that here. I also need to go to the display panel and turn off vertex colors, and then I'll be able to see the material color.